Welcome to All the Leads Cold Call Training, a special series recorded once a month for the Probate Mastermind podcast. These episodes feature agents, investors, and wholesalers from across the country role-playing their real estate cold calling scripts with coaches Chad Corbett and Bruce Hill. Be sure to join our Facebook group, All the Leads Mastermind, to find role-play partners and more. For previous episodes, visit alltheleads.com/podcast.
Welcome to our powerful agents and investors from across the country. Today is Wednesday, January 13th, 2020, and this is Roleplay Podcast number 62. And we do have a number of people in the queue. Chad, Bruce, and I are all here today. Let's go to our first caller. First up this week is phone number ending in 1110. You're up first.
Hi, this is Cliff. I just got my first set of leads this week, actually, and I was all gung-ho, started into it, and then the first one I looked at didn't have all the things were X'd out, start out for being able to call them, but they had an email. So I sent an email, and I took one of the letters, and I hacked that up, and it seemed to go okay. But then part of my thing was, okay, when I get into this thing of if I have to leave messages, and I forget who my trainer person, my coach was, and he had suggested that I make the calls first. So I looked at Chad's script there a little bit to see what his was. I sent you this letter last week. I didn't send him a letter last week. So right away I looked like a knucklehead. So I adjusted, and I just went, hi, this is Cliff Castellano. I'd like a chance to speak with you concerning your role as a personal administrator. Give me a call when you get 5 minutes to chat. And is that acceptable? Does that seem okay to do?
So it's something that I wouldn't lean towards saying it exactly like that. A lot of times, whether you're leaving a message or you're getting someone on the phone, I've personally found that it's okay to say, did you happen to get a letter from me in the last couple of weeks? You're not saying I sent you a letter, but did you happen to get one? And you'd be surprised how many people will say, yeah, I think I did. And it just really opens the conversation up for you to be able to start to talk and ask them about their experience. So you could do the same thing on a message as well. A lot of our subscribers don't leave a message on the first call. That's up to you. I'd say test it and try maybe without a message on your first call and then with a message and see what kind of response rate you get back.
Oh, okay. I know we're not supposed to ask a lot of questions on this, but I have one. I struggled, and it sounds strange, with what to put in the subject line for the email. I know it might sound stupid, but I struggled as to what actually to put there. Do you have any suggestions for that?
I'll take a shot. I'm sure Bruce has advice on that too. I prefer questions. So when you're coming from a place of empathy and really, truly understanding the situation they're in, if you really want to get their attention, ask a question that takes their mind to the place you want them to be thinking. So whatever the purpose of your message is, if you're early on in the process and somebody's just starting, it could be something like, did you know that this exists in the community? Or did you know that you already have a team? And what you're trying to do is not sell anything with email. And again, I would suggest that you keep your copy short. There are copywriting techniques where you go long form, but this is a cold email introduction. So I would keep it short and try to drive it to the phone, because these folks are in a very emotional situation, and it's much easier to sell this over the phone. So something like, did you know that you already have a team here in Roanoke? And then when they click, hi, my name's Cliff. I've got a team of people put together specifically to help families going through probate. Anytime I can find an email, I always try to reach out, because most people don't know this exists, and they don't understand how much value we can bring to the situation. Click the link below to jump on my calendar. Can't wait to see how we can help you. And you need to have a clear call to action. Don't try to sell your service. Don't try to tell them everything you can do for them. That's what the phone call's for.
Okay.
Because point of that, just for everybody listening, the reason I say that is there are literally dozens upon dozens of ways we can provide value to these families. But until we get the answers to a few basic questions and understand what their pain points are, what their challenges are, you don't want to try to sell clean-out services to someone who has an empty house. If it was a fully furnished vacation condo. So trying to sell them everything is overwhelming. Picking things randomly it may not apply to them. So just try to speak broadly and have a clear call to action, just a few sentences of copy, and get them on the calendar. or have them. You can say give them a choice. You can call me at this number right now, or you can schedule on my calendar here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would add maybe speaking to the pain that they might be experiencing, not the pain of grief or the pain of loss, but the pain or the potential pain of not working with you. So a subject line might be something like the greatest mistake that a PR will ever make. And then your copy is the greatest mistake. I work with a lot of personal representatives and families, and the biggest mistake is trying to do everything on your own. You may have an attorney that's doing the legal side of your project, but everything surrounding real estate, from property clean out to property sale, I can help you with. If you want to hear more, call this number.
Okay.
But ultimately the goal is to get your email opened, and so keep it short and mix in.
Yeah, the one person called, emailed me back.
Lines.
She emailed me back, and she said that she has an attorney to take care of this. So I emailed her back, because nowhere in it did I really tell her I was a realtor. So I emailed her back that I understand your attorneys for that stuff, but I'm here to anything else you can do with selling the house or whatever. And I did give her my number, and she had that originally from the first email and all that. And I asked her if she has a few minutes to give me a call, but we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff.
My personality, I'll like something you said, just to give you an idea, if that's often the mentality is our attorney has it handled, and this is a disruptive move, so you have to have the personality to support it on when the phone call comes. But you can say things like, can you believe your attorney missed this? Is the email subject line. And your body copy talks about how 99.9% of attorneys overlook telling them how to protect the asset protection piece. So if you have real estate and that real estate is vacant, you have exposure from an insurance standpoint, but also from an adverse possession standpoint. One of the many things that are on our checklist is to make sure that we help families get the proper insurance in place and to secure assets. If you don't have real estate, this is obviously not yada yada. But you can do really disruptive things like that. Just understand it may get forwarded to an attorney, and that attorney may not be your best friend when you hear from them. Yeah. But if you have the personality to stand up to that type of a conversation, that's still engagement.
Yep.
So as you learn the assumptions, like when you hear these objections, you should have an email subject line for every objection you hear on the phone, and that will eventually become part of your drip campaign. Did you know your attorney missed this? Can you believe this person lost everything because they didn't have the right insurance? Like things like that to help move them, because they don't know what they don't know. But every time you get stumped by an objection, challenge yourself to write a really good subject line, ideally 5 words or less, with a question, as a question, and use an emoji. And that's the kind of the techniques I use to keep above 50% open rates.
So, Chad, what your probate attorney might not have told you, subject line. What your probate attorney didn't tell you or might not have.
No, I would still stick with the question. Can you believe your attorney missed this? Or
you could say, what did your
attorney tell you?
Yeah, or what did your attorney forget to tell you, if you want to keep it in the question form, something like that.
Yeah. It's anything that's concise and question form, and I find that proper use of emojis, either on the very first character or the very last character, an emoji will really help, especially on mobile devices.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I would use those at all. Okay. All right.
It's like anything else. Do an ABC test. Try a few different things work in different markets, but don't be afraid to play with it a little bit and see what works for you.
Okay.
So I want to go back to something really fast. I know you're sending emails because there were a lot of do not call numbers on your list, and email is primarily used as customer service. It's hard to sell over email. So if you're using email throughout the majority of your list and you are not calling all the numbers, then you need to make that email subject line and the copy drive back to some kind of an opt-in, some kind of an engagement. I'm a big believer in content and education in email, but you've got to get them actively engaged by texting you, emailing you, or calling you as soon as possible if you're not calling all those numbers.
Okay. All righty.
All right. Appreciate it. We got 5 more in the queue. Good participation this week, guys. Next up is phone number ending in 8831. You're up next. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm from New Jersey. I was on the call last week. I guess there were some technical problems, what have you, so I just kind of wanted to try out my opening script.
Sure. Who do you want? Who wants to role play with them, or do you want to just open and let us all comment on it? Whatever you prefer.
Yeah, you know what? Let me just open it, and then you guys can give me feedback. I've had so many different variations, and I'm really just trying to narrow it down. So the opening goes, hello, my name is Andrew. My team and I, we work with families, and we go down to the courthouse about every 30 days to see who may be going through probate. And we reach out to families that may need our help. We do all the non-legal things that attorneys really don't handle. We help families with things like real estate services, clean house, as well as handyman services. Have there been any challenges that you think we might be able to help out with? So that's the opening.
And maybe I missed it. I didn't hear you reference the fact that they're going through probate. Did I just miss that?
No, I don't. I say that we go down to the courthouse to help out families that are going through probate.
Okay, forgive me. I just missed that. Good, simple explanation for what you do. I would probably be looking for a little bit more engagement from them earlier in that introduction. So instead of just diving into it and running for, I'm going to speculate, like 45 seconds, I would probably throw in a summary of what you're calling for and then ask if they got your letter, ask if they recognize your name, something like that. And when you get a little bit of engagement back from them, then you go into kind of the elevator pitch. So you jumped right into the elevator pitch where I would put a really short summary in front of that. So I help families through the probate process, something along those lines. Jed, what do you think?
So when you listen to this recording, I think you'll see your entry point. And I kind of marked that point of the conversation. Because you didn't initiate with, I sent you a letter last week. Do you remember seeing that? You skipped that engagement point that we usually have in the first few seconds. You ran, like Bruce said, probably 45 seconds before you reached for engagement. And that felt way too long. The point where it made the most sense for you is when you said, we help families going through probate. And then you had a slight pause, and then you launched right into examples of how you could help. That's your entry point right there. You could say, have you heard of our team, or did you know that we existed? The answer is going to be no, most likely. We have a service that helps families going through probate. Did you know something like that existed in the community? Oh, okay. Yeah, most people don't. That's why we try to reach out to every family. And honestly, like, we can help with anything and everything. It starts with us understanding what your challenges are. A lot of families, they need help with getting homes cleaned out, with getting proper insurance to protect assets. They don't realize as a fiduciary that's really important. And for some reason, the attorneys fail to remind them of that. So it really just starts with a simple conversation with the family. And then we can give you options give you things we could do to help. What's been the toughest single thing so far that you can think of? Something along those lines. I went a little longer with the examples than I probably would have. But that pause point, if you're calling ahead of your letters, that was an assumption I was making because you didn't say anything. If you're calling ahead of your letters, just make sure you get some pause point with a question, like where you they have some opportunity for engagement in the first few seconds. Otherwise, they're going to feel an urgency to speak, and they're not going to be listening.
And yet, what I was going to add also, if you do get to that point, or if you do ask that question, what's been the most difficult part for you so far, be prepared that they might just come back and say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And have a couple examples for them. A lot of the people we deal with find that it's a personal property. Do you have a lot of personal property in the house? Just be prepared to ask another question. Questions are always better than statements at keeping people engaged, and the longer you can get them talking, the better the chance you're going to have them listening to your USP when you get to it. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for participating. Appreciate it. We got a full queue, guys. Great job. Did you want to add something, Bruce?
No, I just said thanks, Andrew.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right. Next up is phone number ending in 2517. You're up next.
Okay. Ready to role play.
All right. Who do you want? You get Bruce or Chad? We'll let you choose.
Actually, I don't care. This is the script that Bruce gave me. I actually want to get back to ordering my leads again. I just wasn't comfortable for a while. So I'm ready to go, so I don't care.
Bruce, you want to take her?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
It sounds like Joyce, by the way. Well, hold on.
No, it's Sue.
Sue, sorry. Sounded like Joyce on my headset. Okay. All right, Sue. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Bruce?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Sue Steinman. Do you happen to remember who I am?
Sue. No, I not off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't think so. The reason I'm calling is because I shot you a few letters recently, and I help families go through the probate process. I don't really know if the ways that I help are going to be relevant to you or not. Do you maybe have a minute to chat and see if what I offer is relevant?
Yeah, sure. I'm a little squeezed on time, but I can take a minute.
Okay, this will be brief. The families that I typically help, and I don't know if you need this, but the families that I typically help out are in 3 areas. Either someone has real estate that they know that they're going to sell or just inherited, and they don't want to get taken advantage of. And being in the real estate business, I can help with that. The next area that I help with is dealing with personal property. A lot of people are just bogged down and busy in their regular day-to-day and don't have time to arrange for estate sales or make trips to the dump or those types of things. And so I've got a team that can handle anything regarding to house out or selling personal property. The last thing that I do is I help with repairs and maintenance. You know, a lot of the way our lives are busy, and then all of a sudden you have to go over and trim weeds or fix a leaking sink or something that can just be too much in one day. And so I've got a team of handyman and contractors that if you needed anyone, just let me know, and I could get them over there pretty quick.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just assuming that so far you guys probably have everything handled.
Not exactly. We're just so early in the process. We haven't even been over to the house yet. So I don't know what we need to do, what we don't need to do. I have no idea. Just lost Mom a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure we'll get over there sometime in the next couple of months.
Okay. I can certainly appreciate you're going through a lot right now. And I'll tell you what, do you think you could take down my name and number and let me know if you need some help in the future when you finally get to the point where you can start looking at the house and the things that you're going to have to go through?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay. My name is Steinman. Do you have a pen? I'm sorry. Do you have a pen?
Yeah, I got a pen.
Okay. My name is Steinman, and my phone number is 520-261-5006.
Okay.
So,
got it.
Okay, I want to be respectful of your time, but I just have one last question. Do you think your family is leaning toward holding on to the real estate long term, or are you thinking about selling it?
I don't know. I want to hold on to it, but I got a little bit of a fight on my hands with my siblings. I don't know. We're probably going to sell. I don't want to, though.
Oh, no? What would you prefer to do?
Keep it.
Would you, rent it out or something?
Yeah, no, it would definitely be a long-term. Sue, I'm running a little tight on time. I don't know. I can certainly let you know if I need anything in the future, though.
Okay. I appreciate that. I don't want to take enough of your time. I'll probably just give you a call back in a month or so, and when I call, if nothing changed, please feel free to answer the phone and say, Sue, nothing's changed. But on the flip side, if you feel like you need some help early on in possibly clean out or maintenance or anything of that manner, I have a team of vendors that can help. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure. That works.
Okay. All right. You have a great day, Bruce.
All right. Thanks, Sue.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Good job. I could tell that I could tell you'd practiced that dialogue. I would say that you should probably work on shortening the elevator pitch. So where you described some of the things that families are going through, I would work on getting that out a little sooner, summarizing it a little bit quicker, and then just be prepared. I gave you an opening. You said, should I assume you have everything handled so far? And I basically said, we don't know what we don't know is a summary of what I said. I have no idea what we're going to do. We haven't been over to the house. We probably won't go for a few months. And that was a really big opening for you to dig for some information. You went for you pretended like I objected to you and like I resisted you, and I was not resisting you at all.
But
so
I didn't know
you
what
could
to
have.
say.
You're good. Just ask questions. Oh yeah. So what is going on over at the house? Who's taking care of it? That would be a good question. There are other questions. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is sit down and write out some questions where if somebody opens up and they give you an opening, you have a handful of questions that you could just ask. Otherwise, it was conversational. I could tell that you got stumped a little bit, but all in all, a good job.
Okay, so I got to look for the questions they open up.
One thing that struck me, and it might sound a little bit picky, but you stated things differently than I'd ever heard anybody state them before, which is good. It definitely sounded and seemed like you. At one point after you stated everything, you said it was almost the opposite of an assumptive close. You said you probably don't need help with any of those things. I think I would state that a little bit differently. Are there any of those things you need help with? Or you could either be a little more presumptive and say there's probably at least one of those things you need help with. Because when you say you probably don't, it's just really easy for the person to auto answer, no, I don't need help. So I would maybe make that neutral. Or what's that?
Sue, you're allowed to roll me under the bus right now if you want.
So I was waiting on my response because I hear a lot of Bruceisms in your language, and I think the reason you're using negatives so heavily is because he suggested. Am I right?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but I liked it because I felt like it was a disarming approach, but it will take more phone calls to build the relationship.
So I'm going to say this respectfully. Your delivery is weak, and it's making you look weak. So until you can get that to a point where it elicits a positive response, like in the first 5 sentences of the call, it felt to me like you had no self-confidence in your own service. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I think Bruce has been coaching her on negatives and a few things. So I get the methodology. I see what you're going, but your delivery is not confident. And until it is, it's probably going to work against you. Because if you say, you probably don't need help with any of that. If I'm not in rapport with you, I'm going to be like, yep, thanks for the call, and I'm off. And so and Bruce was not, you didn't get to a level of engagement where those are safe statements, I didn't feel like. I'd like for you to listen to the recording of this and hear how you're delivering those negatives and then work on that. I think it's a good tactic and it's good advice. It's some of us are subject to our personalities, though, and I don't think that it's serving you to go that negative that early and just before you have rapport.
So what I would say is rapport is built heavily while you're presenting the issues that you work through, and the longer it takes you to get that out and present it, the less rapport you're getting. Because I was almost feeling like, could you just get to the point? And I know those are the 3 points that I hit and the 3 points that I gave you, but they took so long that by the time you even went to a negative, I didn't feel like I felt like you were completely unconfident, and it had just taken too long for a negative to really work, in my opinion. I do believe in the power of asking a negative question, though. And
Bruce, deliver your, have you ever heard of me? And your response to that. Deliver that so other people can hear. You have a humorous, let me fall on my sword approach to that. So deliver that back to her.
Do you happen to recognize my name by any chance?
No.
Is that the one you're talking about, Chad? Do you happen to recognize my name? I'm not. No, you don't? Oh gosh, that's totally fine. I just shot you a couple of letters a few days ago. I'm gonna guess that you haven't gotten around to reading those.
There. So you hear he has that little, okay, no, Bruce is downright jolly about that. And when you present it, we're sheepish about it. So there's little things like this when you're going, just like I talked about with the email subject lines, with certain techniques, you got to be prepared for the setup. And that was where I first picked up on where it just seemed like you weren't confident and you started to lose me. So I think keep working with what Bruce is suggesting you do. Just work on your delivery and be a little more confident in it and a little more certain where your conversation's going, because it was also really clear when your mind got off track, you were trying to regain control. And that's fine. This is a safe place. Nobody's making fun of you, and thanks for stepping up to do it. But it was clear when you didn't know where the conversation was going. So just pay a little bit more attention to what is think two steps down the road in the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good job, Sue. Thank you. Next up is phone number ending in 7368. You're up next.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
This is Christina. I'm in Austin, and I am a deer in the headlights. I'm so excited about this, and Bruce knows I have not made one call yet. So I just wanted to stumble my way through this opening phone call as if I'm calling one of my leads. And I don't really have any agenda, I don't really have any tenets to say except what I just heard on the other call, so it's going to be really rough.
All right. Who wants to take her? You want to take another one, Bruce, or Chad, do you want to take a turn?
By me. Christina, if you've been coaching with Bruce, do you want to do it with him, or would you rather me go?
It doesn't. However, you guys, whatever energy you have is fine with me.
I
What
can
I
do it.
say is not going to be something that Bruce told me to say probably. So this is going to be really rough.
So I'll take this as I'll do the role play so your coach can listen and give you advice. How's that?
Okay. All right. So ring.
Hello?
Hey, Chad, this is Christina. I sent you a letter. Probably got it over the last week. Do you remember getting a letter from me?
No, I have a stack of mail. What was it about? How can I help you?
I know you've probably just gotten so much information in the mail. I have a team of people. We help people go through probate, and I got your name and number from the county records. I know you've had a loss in the family. I'm really sorry to hear about that for your family. I know this is a lot to tackle, so I just wanted to check in with you and see what you're struggling with that I could possibly help with.
What is it that you do specifically? I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit of a different service. So I have a team of people that can help pick up where the attorney has left off in the probate process. So your attorney is probably doing a great job handling all the legal processions of the probate. But there's the real estate and the personal property, which is often a burden for a personal representative like you to handle. So I have a team of people that we help with estate sales, organizing personal property. We can help you fix up a home, just a variety of services. What are you struggling with that I can help you out with?
Time. Finding time to do everything that I need to do.
Time. That's definitely where I could help you out. Tell me, is there real estate is there real estate as part of the estate? Okay. And has there been anyone who is it being managed currently or being lived in?
No, nobody's living there right now. My brother was, but when Dad passed, he couldn't even afford to pay the utilities, so he's moved on.
Okay. All right. And Chad, I can hear it in your voice. I can tell that this is just a really heavy time for you, and I just want to give you my condolences and tell you that I'm so sorry you're going through this. It is a really hard time. I've experienced it myself. So your brother left, the home is vacant. Is there anyone who is, let's see, I don't know what to ask, guys. I know I'm trying to get to the insurance question. I'm kind of lost.
Break there. So, first of all, your tone is awesome. Even when I was being an asshole to you, you didn't let it shake you. And you're like, oh, yeah, no worries. So your tone is really good. I think you're trying to make the conversation fit so much that you're actually missing points that you wouldn't have otherwise. Like your setup, you're doing a good job on the setup. And as soon as you found out my brother moved out and that the utilities might not be on, and the reason I said that is because I know it snowed in your neighborhood last week, and the house is probably not winterized. So I was giving you a slow pitch that was circumstantial, but I was giving you a slow pitch to find a reason to get over there today to get that house winterized and get proper insurance on it. There's things like that. So I think you were looking to guide the conversation so much, you were missing opportunities that you wouldn't have with another type of client.
Okay.
And so I wrote down great empathy. You really sounded empathetic. Yeah. You sounded sincerely interested. And you did a good job of restating what he was saying also. So you could tell that you were listening and paying attention. Yeah. I'm
glad you said that because, Christina, I would love to see you back that empathy statement up. You just dropped it in at a place where it didn't fit nearly as good as it would have back in the beginning of the conversation. So we actually visit the courthouse once a month and reach out to all families going through this because I've been through it and I know how hard it can be without help. And that's why a service in the community exists that most people have never heard of, because I'm now taking this on as my community service or social enterprise, something like that. But get that empathy statement in the front, because most of us on this call are never to have gone through, had to have been an executor. But if you have been, it can be really powerful. So I would encourage you to move that up in your intro.
Okay, cool.
So my input, and this is a really small thing, you did say county records. I would prefer that you say the county clerk or the courthouse over county records. It sounds really, just records it sounds robotic, okay? And you probably don't do that normally, but make sure that you don't. The other thing that where you got stuck and you were trying to stick to a specific narrative, and a lot of times that narrative is going to work for you, but when Chad left you an opening that didn't fit the narrative or didn't fit the insurance statement that you wanted to get to, then that's where you did get a little bit stuck. And I feel like he said time, and you provided an empathetic statement that I can definitely help. And you started looking for how to help, where I've just simply asked a deeper question on that. And it doesn't need to be, it could be as simple as, what are you running out of time with? What are you
If you had an extra 8 hours today, if you had an extra 8 hours today, how would you use it?
Yep, exactly. Okay, they're gonna tell you how you can help. You made the statement, I can help, but you still didn't know exactly what they needed help with yet.
Yeah. Cool. Y'all, that was all I've ever made.
Good job. I have one other kind of silly observation. You came out asking questions. I've never heard anybody ask a question with the ring. You said ring? You made that sound like a question. That just struck me. Boy, this lady's really taking this seriously. She started with the question the way the phone rings. I had to bring that up. It was noticeable. It was funny. But you did follow up with some good, legitimate questions also. Good job. You're very welcome. We have 3 more in the queue. Perfect timing. Next up is phone number ending in 2600. You're up next. Are you there? 2600. You're up next. Unmute yourself. 2600. Go ahead. You're good. Yes, sir.
We got somebody.
Yeah. Hi, this is Rich McDonough. I sent you a letter last week in a colored envelope, so I'm just following up to explain why I sent it. Am I correct that you're the personal representative for the Smith estate?
Yeah, that's me.
Great. Listen, I'm sure you have a lot on your plate, and I know this may be a difficult time, but I'm a probate services specialist, and I help a lot of families. Tell me, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now?
You said this is who?
This is Rich McDonough.
Rich. Okay. Yeah, no, I think we have everything handled. Our attorney's doing a good job for us.
Oh, okay. I can appreciate that. I actually don't handle any legal affairs, but I help people. I'm a one-stop resource center for everything from furniture consignments to appraisals and packaging, organizing, cleaning out, or selling property. Which of these areas do you need most help with?
Tell you, Rich, I'm sure we're going to need some help down the road, but we're not even ready to go over and start dealing with any of that stuff yet. I'm buried.
Okay, I can appreciate that. When would be a good time for me to check back with you?
I'd say give it a
couple of months. Okay. And is there a good email address that I can reach you at?
No, I'd rather not give that right now.
Okay. I appreciate that. Okay, I have your number, and I'll check back with you in a couple of months as you suggested.
Okay.
Is there anything else I can do for you?
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, okay. What's your biggest pressing problem or challenge right now?
Just the paperwork that I'm dealing with the attorney.
The paperwork with the attorney.
Long of things to do.
Okay.
I have no idea. Do you want to come do my shopping for me?
No, I don't do shopping, but I do help people with all those other things that get involved with the settlement of an estate, appraising personal property and things like that. But it sounds like you're not at that point yet, correct?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. All right, let me follow up with you in a month, and I'm sure some issues will come up between now and then that I can help you with. Does that sound like a plan?
Okay. Yeah, that works.
Okay, great. All right, nice chatting with you.
All right.
Have a great day.
What's your name, sir? What was your name, sir?
It's Rich.
Rich McDonough.
Rich, you do a lot of prospecting, don't you?
I try.
Yeah. You need to slow down a bit on probate.
Slow down?
You're aggressively thinking about your own responses more than you're looking for human engagement. Bruce threw you slow pitches, and you missed them and actually interrupted him while he was throwing you a slow pitch. And then he was generous enough to he brought it back to you again, and then you somewhat engaged with it. But you're not using those as leverage points to show your value. And it's obvious you're an aggressive prospector on other lists that are way less emotional than this. I'm betting you probably hammer FSBOs and expireds if I had to guess. Yeah, and so I want you to listen to the recording and see those. I don't want to point them out specifically. I want you to say, where did I miss opportunity? Because he gave you at least 3 chinks in his armor that you overlooked because you were waiting for your own response.
Gotcha. Okay,
but
good.
Your demeanor's good. You sound very professional. You just slow down a little bit and listen a little more for the problems. And when he says something like, it's just this paperwork, then validate his position and be like, oh my gosh, I know, right? I see families, we help families every month, and usually the biggest challenge on the front end is just first of all, how do you keep all this organized? And just be really human with them and slow it down a little bit. And then you'll get engagement, and they'll start giving you real answers. Where Bruce, it might have felt like you were getting blown off, and you immediately said, all right, I'll just call you in a month. And it felt, all right, on to the next one. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Rich, I'll give you one positive. I agree with Chad. You could have said it slower, but I thought you did a nice job of having a very brief, concise, but somewhat inclusive USP. You mentioned in one sentence everything you could do. You probably could have slowed down the delivery a little bit, but you didn't ramble on about it. So that, to me, that was a positive.
Okay, great. Yep. Thank you.
Bruce, anything you want to add, Bruce?
I felt like your summary was one of the better ones that I've heard in a long time. It didn't go on and on. So great job on the summary. I'll just repeat what Chad was saying a second ago, that I was in the process. I hadn't even thrown you a slow pitch. I was in the process of giving you a slow pitch, and you swung before the ball was even out of the pitch. So that was basically, I circled back around and gave you one that I'll bring up, mainly because you're not going to hear it very often, but I tried to give you the slow pitch again, and I said, do you want to do my shopping for me? I've never heard anyone say that, but I wanted to hit you with that just to drive home the point that I was completely overwhelmed as the prospect. Totally overwhelmed. And that's where you probably want to dig in and start asking questions to find out why I'm overwhelmed, what my schedules, what my family members are wanting, what I'm going to do in the future, and how long that's going to take me if you just leave me alone. The type of person that I was playing would have taken 8 months to do anything with the house because they're just busy with all the other stuff. In the meantime, you probably could have found a couple of things that you could help with or pieces of advice that you could offer that would help build rapport. Because by the time you hung the phone up, I don't think that we really would have had.
Yeah, that's empathy is something I need to work on. It's funny, I've listened to Chad, and I said, Chad doesn't sound like an empathetic person to me, but he seems to be very successful. But maybe I'm wrong, Chad.
If anything, I'm probably too empathetic. I end up spending a lot of extra time with. I had to learn to temper this. I would go be too helpful to these families and do things that weren't dollar productive and didn't serve me in the business. And I had to, because I really felt like it was a duty or an obligation of mine. So I had to back off of that. And for me, the empathy is understanding how they feel, and like what they're looking at is a mountain, but to me it looks like a molehill, and then balancing that out. So not to downplay their situation, to validate and affirm it, but then become the solution to it very quickly. And maybe that's why it sounds like I'm not empathetic, because I am empathetic to them and to their situation. It's just I see myself as the solution.
The reason why I picked up on what I perceive to be not empathetic is you have a very low-key tone in your voice. You don't sound like emotional, and that's why I just assumed the unempathetic piece, but maybe totally read that wrong then. And what if you have a personality like mine where you're more of an expressive and a little bit of a driver, and empathy isn't your strong suit? How do you compensate for that?
We all have to learn to work with our own personalities and find our own language. That's the biggest reason you won't find written scripts here, because if I give you a script that works well for me, you're probably going to be like, what in the hell? Like, you're going to hate it. And I would never probably use a script that you use. So what I would rather do is help you understand the methodology and what information you need, and you go gather that in your own style. But I would say that I'm a very introspective person. The reason I speak the way I do in a professional setting is because of literally thousands and thousands of observed conversations. And when I first started in sales, I was high-strung, coming from the FBI, gung-ho, pick an obstacle, go through it, get the hell out of my way. If you say no, that's fine. There's 9 more before I find my yes, that kind of guy. And what I learned is that level of that really aggressive approach didn't serve me as much as when I slowed down and spent time. And this was in a setting where we were in a resort selling multi-million-dollar real estate, is when I first had that realization. And when I would just slow the hell down and focus, like really make myself listen more than speaking, then I found that I spoke slower, I asked better questions, and I had engagement really quickly. And very quickly, I rose to the top of every sales team, and I jumped from market to market. And I think it's just learned behavior for me because Bruce hangs out. Bruce is a friend of mine, and he knows how I act around the campfire. I think it's a little different, like in my personal life. But I think I've had so much positive reinforcement with the slowing things down. It made deals close more, like as paradoxical as it might sound. Slowing things down a bit got the closings to happen faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. The question is, how do you develop that ability?
Rich, go ahead.
Being interested to me. Like every time I get off the phone, I ask myself, what did you do? What could you have done better? And just two really simple questions. And you have a 3-minute memory of that last phone call. And you'll start to notice things that you might not be if you just hit the dial button and go to the next call. So just take a moment between each conversation and say, okay, what did I do? What can I improve? And then take a deep breath and make the next one. And over time, you'll start to see that. The other thing, this is crazy, but I actually, and I think it was Jeffrey Gitomer maybe that I was reading, one of the first books I ever read in sales, suggested you put a mirror in your office. And I actually put a mirror in my office at Snowshoe, and while I was on the phone, I would look at myself in the mirror, and it made it more human and more conversational. So there's little things like that, but paying close attention to what you say and how people react to it is how I built my sales skills.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll give you a little. I was very much like you in my prospecting career in real estate, and what was a clue for me, when I would call retirement areas, I would have people say, slow down and quit yelling at me. I was a real estate coach at the time, and I took an NLP course. You don't have to take a whole course, but matching and mirroring really helped me a lot. Like, just listen to the people's tone and their rate of speech and try to match it. If you get somebody who's real slow, just consciously be aware of the speech pattern of the person you're talking to and try to adjust yours to match them. And I think you'll get in rapport quicker. That worked really well for me, but I had to have a lot of old people tell me to quit yelling and slow down before I finally got the message. All right? I hope that helps.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Before you jump off, hey, Jim, hold on. Before you jump off the phone, I've got two things that I need to say, and one is to everyone else that's listening. Chad's advice a second ago, and you said it was Rich, right? I'm so sorry. Okay, so Chad's advice to you, Rich, was take a second and ask yourself what you did right, what you did wrong, and adjust. This is what I do in my business. I'm always asking myself, why did that suck so bad? And what can I do to make it suck less next time? And before you've dialed it into having something that's really good. Most of the people on this call, as the guy that normally coaches a lot of them, need to not take as much time analyzing themselves. Okay, and I'm saying this to everyone else because some of you, if you overanalyze, it freezes you in inaction. You don't take Chad's advice to Rich. It was very applicable to Rich. I just want to make sure that some people aren't out there analyzing when they still haven't made a phone call yet. Now, Rich, with regard to Chad being, your read on Chad being unempathetic, I would speculate that another piece of that might have been the fact that Chad is very assertive. And if you are an empathetic person, a practice that you need to develop and a skill you need to develop is how to be assertive, because a lot of empathetic people can go on and let the prospect that they're dealing with drive and control the entire conversation, and they never ask for the business. On the flip side, if you're a very assertive person, like I'm assuming you are, Rich, then practicing your empathy, and probably even if you're faking it, even if you're forcing it at first, that practice, and specifically with regard to what Jim said a second ago, studying some basics of neuro-linguistic programming or NLP is going to be is going to serve your business a lot, because if you're assertive, you need to practice the empathy, and if you're empathetic, you need to practice the assertiveness. There's a balance to winning deals here.
Okay. Hey, this has been very helpful. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We have two more in the queue, guys. Can we go a few minutes over? You okay, Bruce and Chad? Go a few minutes over today?
I do have a hard stop at 3 that I have to jump for. I'll go ahead and go. Thanks everybody who participated today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, Chad. All right, we have two more in the queue. We'll finish up with the last two. Next up is phone number ending in 9005. You're up next. Are you there, 9005?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. What can we do for you? Yep.
Okay, so the biggest objection that I'm having when I'm on my calls is that they have everything under control. And I don't really know where to go with anything from there. So I'm throwing out the insurance pitch after that, but I pretty much get they're totally closed off after they say we've got everything under control. So I'm just wondering, what can I do in that situation other than schedule a follow-up call?
A lot of times you will end up needing to schedule a follow-up call with people if they're really closed. However, I want you to understand what they're saying that they have it under control to. They are saying we have everything under control to someone who, in their mind, is trying to sell them something that they don't want to buy. But they don't really know what it is that you can help with yet. They don't know what they don't know. And so it's just a deflection. And it's my belief that the more we handle objections, the less rapport we keep with our prospects. And there is a time to handle an objection, but I'm going to make the case to you that maybe you should validate objections above trying to handle them, and then come off of the tail end of the validation like, hey, that's really good. I'm glad to hear you have it under control. You probably don't need a ton from me today. Before I let you go, though, were you? And then ask another question. Okay, so mine would be, before I let you go, though, were you guys eventually planning on cleaning the property out? Or were you eventually planning on selling the property, or are you guys leaning toward keeping it? So you want to go with a validation before you move on to a different talking point. And that'll keep your conversations going much longer. And you'll gather a lot of good, valuable information. They're going to feel like they have rapport with you because you didn't tell them all the areas that they're wrong. You told them all the areas that they were right. And if you have to set a follow-up call, they're going to be a lot more receptive.
Okay. All right. I think I can
Perfect.
do that.
Excellent. Last up is a familiar name. Aileen, you're up. We saved the best for last. How's that? You're up last.
Thank you so much. How are you guys? Happy
Sure.
New Year. Thank you. My question is that as I'm making phone calls, obviously a lot of the times I'm not getting anybody that's picking up. So typically I don't leave a message. Typically I just make notes and then I'm going to call back. So my question in terms of a script or a way to handle when I'm caught off guard and people will return a call and say, oh, hey, I have a missed call from your number. What are you calling me about? And I don't have their name. I don't have their information right at my fingertips because it could be like an hour after I finish prospecting. So I find that I'm like losing the opportunity because maybe it is the PR, maybe it isn't, and sometimes I'm like at a grocery store. So do you think there's maybe like a script or something that I could say, and perhaps it just means like getting back to them, that I could say quickly to be able to capture it and not lose the moment?
If you don't mind, Bruce, I'll go first on this one. I have that happen to me all the time in my investment business. People will call me back, and what were you calling about? It's gosh, I'm not at my desk right now, and I made a lot of calls. I assume that if you're calling me back, you're the executive of the estate, correct? And then just go into your normal conversation. Don't pretend like believe me, they're not going to be offended that you don't remember the exact phone number that they're calling you back from. You don't have to have everything right at your fingertips, but generally I'll get pretty deep in the conversation, and then worst case, if there's something I have to refer to in the file, I can always schedule a call back, but usually there isn't. Usually you can get the information from them as far as all the questions you need answered and how you can help them and the property information and everything, whether you have their information in front of you or not. It's probably you just feel a little bit uncomfortable that you're being blindsided, right?
Yes, for sure. That is a little bit uncomfortable, and I get it. You know what? I think that 2020, if anything, has taught me, and maybe it taught a lot of us, is that we're all like living a very real life. Like dogs are barking in the background, kids are talking. Like everybody understands being human and living life very differently. So it's not so much about not sounding professional. It's more about I'm calling a list of numbers off of one probate or for one PR. So not all of them is going to be the number for the PR necessarily. So it could be that somebody's calling me back. That's not the personal representative. You know what I'm saying?
That question, are you the executor of an estate? Oh, okay. Are one of the heirs of an estate that was recently filed? And people will say to me all the time, why'd you call me? I'd say, you're did I inherit something? That question, if it's a wrong phone number. And I usually just say to them, you would know if you were the executor, you would know if you inherited something. I obviously have the wrong phone number. Thank you very much. Goodbye. But I think you want to ask pretty much the same questions as if you were sitting at your desk and you were doing a normal conversation with them. And anything you want to add, Bruce?
So I would, the line that I frequently use in the majority, in a lot of calls is my name familiar to you by any chance? I think it's a good opportunity to use that. Say, I'm sorry, I don't recognize your number, but I probably did give you a call. This is Aline. Is my name by any chance familiar to you? Mm-hmm. And see if they say yes, or see if it's at least a pattern disruptor, and then saying, I was probably giving you a call because I think that you or a family member are administering an estate. Maybe you're an executor. Do you guys have an estate and some property that you've inherited? Something like that. So go with questions.
Right. Yep. Not automatically assume that I have to explain more than, instead of going on the defense, just ask questions to get more clarity.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
That makes sense. And if I could, just take a second. One of the things that I observed in the last 2 weeks, in the beginning of the year, is, and I don't know if it's just a fluke or if it's just an indication of, the world and everything that we've been around, it seems to me like a lot of the people that I'm speaking to are very, very emotional, very open and talking and sharing, just a lot more than I've experienced before in the past. I don't know, for whatever that's worth. I think that probably things are just a lot more heavier for people than they have been.
Do you mean in a good way? So are you saying they're emotional, but that's causing them to be open and sharing, or they're more defensive?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean it like they're just not so much defensive, more so like just really open and sharing. I had a lady yesterday say to me, she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe everything I'm telling you. And also with meetings with people, just like I don't want to get too deep and heavy, but I'm just noticing, I think that just as a world, we're holding a lot of weight, a lot of emotion, a lot of feelings, and anything that opens it up, not with every single person, obviously, but I've definitely noticed it much more than I have in the past, that people are not aggressive, but more so sharing their feelings of just what's going on for them, their difficulties, even their some personal stuff.
Sure. People definitely, I think you probably have a valid observation. People need to appreciate that TLC now more than ever. I would also give yourself a little bit of a pat in the back. I've worked with you for quite a while now, Aileen, and you're very easy to talk to. So give yourself some credit that you are opening them up opening up and getting them to talk. Because if they don't perceive you as being empathetic, it doesn't matter how stressed they are, they'll go the opposite way and take it out on you. So you're doing a good job on the calls. I would say, way to go. Good job.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that.
Sure. Bruce?
No, I'm good. I would just repeat what Jim just said. I know Aileen does a lot of prospecting. You're probably really building up. I'm sure that maybe people are more open to sharing, but I guarantee it's a lot of advanced skill set that you are developing as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, both of you, for your great coaching.
Thank you for being here, as always. Well, guys, this ends another great call. It was worth waiting for. We had a tremendous turnout this week. We had great participation. I want to thank each of you for being here. I want to particularly thank the half a dozen or so that actively participated. I want to challenge each of you, take one thought, one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and come back tomorrow afternoon and share your results with the group. Stay healthy, stay productive, and we will talk to you tomorrow, guys. Take care.